Hi, everybody. I'm Katie. I'm the director of programming here at Wicked Queer, and welcome to the Q&A with director Zaida for Tove. I was just telling her this is one of the favorite films we have this festival, so I really appreciate the time you taking out to do this Q&A with me. So I obviously get a lot of screeners, and sometimes I don't read. I was like, oh, women's film. I'll just put it on. I had never heard of this story and of this woman,
Yeah.
so I was about 20 to 30 minutes in, and I was like, this is absolutely amazing. So I start, of course, doing my research and Googling, and I had no idea about this woman and her life and how this was a biopic. So this has obviously been really well received in Scandinavia and Finland, one of the top, grossing films. How has the reception been for people who grew up with this woman and what she did compared to, someone like me who was just being introduced to this amazing story?
Yeah, this is so exciting to hear, for example, your comments, because of course the film should work without the audience knowing who Tove Jansson was. But in Finland, she really is a very well-known and loved person, artist. And I grew up with these movements. You can see this poster
Yep.
behind me. This Tove dancing, and there's this shadow. So the shadow is the shadow of a Moomin. So we in Finland, all the children grew up with knowing who Moomins are.
Mhm.
And they are these wonderful, imaginative stories about these strange little, like hippo-like trolls. And their world is very, I don't know, wonderful, philosophical, and they have this humanistic approach on life. So it's a wonderful gift to have had these stories in our life. But it was a scary thing to do a movie about Tove Jansson in Finland, because she really is a national icon, and I thought that, okay, I might have to move out of this country if I fail miserably. So there was a lot of pressure, but of course, at some point you just have to push that to the side and just do your best. And it was lovely to spend all these months and years in Tove's company, because she is an exceptional artist, and it's wonderful that people who didn't know about her maybe get to know her at least a bit more through this film. So I think she has a lot of fans in Asia, for example, and in Europe she's quite well known, and especially in the Nordics. But in the US, I don't think too many people know about her. So we've shown this film at some festivals, but because of this strange era, I haven't had really the chance to hear those comments. So I'm still waiting to meet with the audience at some point and
sure.
learn more.
Yeah, because that was going to be my other question as far as this was the first biopic done of her, correct? And
Yes.
kind of the pressure and you saying if it turned out bad, you'd have to move out of Finland. But I mean, how was that, and how were you approached to kind of to do this?
Well, this is my fifth feature film, and I had worked for Helsinki Film with the production company before. And it was their idea that I should direct this film. And I don't think I would have dared to suggest to do that myself. So I was kind of asked to do this. And then I was really extremely happy that they considered me. But at the same time, I was really unsure about it, because I needed to find my way to Tove Jansson's life. I needed to establish a strong connection to dare to do this. But I tried to do it, and here we are. And
it
I'm still
came
living
out
in Finland.
amazing. So you don't have to move out of Finland, I think is where we're at. That's good. So I was watching another interview you did, and you said that because you did from 1944 to 1955, and you said those were her formative years, and you said how striking modern her life was. And it just, even watching this, and I was so blown away by that, and just there was no qualms about anything, and how sexually free her and the people she surrounded herself with. Can you just talk a little bit more about that? Because I feel like even some of her lifestyle now would be, taboo.
Yes, you're right. And that was one of the things that surprised me when we did research on her life. And I think mostly people in Finland also know about Tove Jansson's life when she was older, and she lived together with Tuulikki Pietilä, who was a famous graphic artist. But I don't think too many people knew about her earlier life and the struggles she had at that time. So it was lovely to, focus on that era. But I was really surprised how, as you said, how free she somehow was. And in 1940s Finland, after the war, I think the reason why they were so not really caring about any external judgment on how they chose to live their lives came because the war was so close. It had just ended, and I think the young people especially really tried to grab on life and enjoy and celebrate life as much as possible. So maybe that was one of the reasons how they could be so, I don't know, free from anybody else's opinions. And Tove, for example, she fell in love with a woman for the first time in 47 with Vivica Bandler, and she found it absolutely amazing, and she was so happy to understand that she really loved a woman, that it was so refreshing to find out about that. It felt really good to tell a same-sex love story where the gender didn't really cause any problems for the protagonists. And it is surprising because it was 1940s.
Yeah, I mean, that was definitely one of my comments of like her being with Vivica was not an issue at all. And also, I think really representing who she was and, a bisexual character in a way that a lot of times isn't portrayed. And we, I obviously watched a lot of films. We don't get a lot of bisexual content. So I think this was another reason why I absolutely, loved the film. So was there, like, in Finland, has it always been known, like, that she was with women and that was just part of her story and it was never some sort of issue?
Well, I don't think it really was an issue, but she never, she really didn't, she was a kind of a private person. So everybody somehow knew that she was living with a woman, but they didn't really, talk about their relationship in public or anything. So in their cultural social circles, everybody knew and accepted that. So it never, I don't think it ever was a problem. But I know that she was really surprised at some point when they fell in love with when Tuulikki and Tove fell in love. They had this wonderful, very long relationship. But when they fell in love, Tove wrote to a friend that she was really surprised that she got some, strange phone calls, and some people contacted her and were critical. But that was mainly it. But of course, it's kind of hard to really understand how it must have been like, because it was illegal to have a relationship with the same-sex relationship. It was illegal until 71, and then it was, of course, considered an illness until 81. So of course it must have affected her life in a profound way, but somehow in her own, bubble, she seemed really, really free.
So how did you do, I guess, some of the research as far as I'm sure everyone, obviously, the lead actress does her research and the set design, but how do you as a director do research to really get in the mindset to direct a film like this?
Yeah, my main goal was to make it personal somehow. I needed to feel that, okay, I'm the right person to tell this story, so I can, put everything I know and feel into this. So, but of course, it all starts with reading a lot. And there was a lot of material. I read Tove's books. She wrote many letters to her loved ones and to her family members and to everybody, and they were wonderful letters. And I studied her paintings, and I read her books for adults also. And and all these lovely things. I sat in the National Archive of in the archive of our national television and studied all the video material I could find from Finland's art scene in 40s and 50s, and I listened to the same music Tove used to listen. And suddenly, if I considered Tove to be this, wonderful, a bit distant, great artist before, now when I understood, when I learned about her struggles in her youth, she became so, I don't know, I had this more intimate relationship with her. I could relate to her and understand her. So that's somehow the way I try to do it. If there is no connection, I would never, I would have to say, I can't do it. I'm always trying to make it personal.
I mean, it definitely was personal. With the opening, we open on her feet and then she's dancing. And then it's like that hard cut of hearing like the bombs. Like what made you go from that to then, I guess, bringing us to reality?
I felt it was really important to start the film with that dance. Tove found joy and splendor and all the lovely things, like life-sustaining things. So that was one of the guidelines for me when making this movie, that there had to be this feeling, this approach towards life that should come through. So it felt good to start with Tove's own somehow private dance, that she's in her own thoughts and we're left in peace, and we just can start swimming into the story, and then we go into the reality. But if I'm totally honest, I think the idea for to put the dance also to the very beginning came from the editor's wife.
Nice.
So this collaboration, because we were struggling a bit with the beginning. The beginnings are often very difficult. There should be this right kind of tone immediately. But yes, that was the idea, to somehow show that this is our style and this is the mood, something like that.
And then I thought it was super interesting when we actually go back to that scene, and then we realized the context of that scene and how she actually really wasn't necessarily dancing happy, and she's just realizing that she can't marry him. And I really liked that, and how it was kind of like the music went down and now we're kind of really focused on her. What was your thought process with that?
Well, that's one of my favorite scenes, actually. So that's nice that you brought it up. And that's one of those scenes that it's not written in the script. That came through our rehearsals with the actress. And I felt that it was important to feel very close to her, but not really, underline what she's thinking or what she's going through, and let the audience somehow project what they feel like to her. So, and it felt, I wanted to have respect also towards Athos. So somehow I needed that moment. I needed to see Tove struggling with her own emotions. And I felt that through dancing, it could be very interesting.
And at the end, that's actually a clip of her dancing. Is that in the credits?
Oh, yes.
Actually,
yes.
That's awesome.
That's awesome. It was such a lovely, there are some very, very good documentaries made of her. And it's actually Tuulikki filmed that. So, and that you can feel it somehow, that she's dancing and somebody she loves is filming it. But yes, it was a lovely idea to I'm really happy that we got the idea to end that film that way.
I feel like, this woman to me is like such a badass. And like, I feel like you even get that from when she's going to the studio and there's no electricity, no heat. It's, all damage from the war. And she's like, I'll take it. And she's, taking the wood and then fixing the electric. I think that really just set the tone for the entire movie of who she was. And she could really do anything. And I think it just is so inspiring for the time era as well, which I'm just going to keep going back to because it's just so crazy of who she was and how I'm hoping this movie will get her more well known here, because it's such a great story for women to see, and young girls to see as well.
Yes, I agree. And if I was an idol, she was an idol for me before, but now I'm like all in. I think she's so extremely extraordinary as a woman. And if you think about the time she was living in, there are so many things. She was not afraid to rebel against her father about the politics. She always had this integrity, and Finland was in a very difficult position during the war. And Tove, I'm so sorry that I couldn't really include it in the film, but Tove was drawing these caricatures of both Hitler and Stalin. So either way the war would end, she would probably be in trouble. And she always knew it, and she always had this integrity that she was never gonna sell out somehow. So I really admire her. And also the fact that she didn't go for those traditional roles reserved for women. She really wanted to find her own way. And that wasn't even a struggle for her. At one point, I remember, I read it from a letter, she said that she's not gonna start a family and she's not gonna be a mother because art came first for her. And she knew that if she were gonna have children, at that time, it was not possible to really be a mother and have a career as a serious artist. So she said, okay, I would either be a bad mother or a bad artist, and I just have to make my mind about it. How do you say that? But yes, so there was always this clarity that I really admire, and still she was so sympathetic, and of course she needed love, and this is what our film is about. How do you combine these things, that you want to stay as free and independent as possible, and still you need to accept that you're a human being, and you need certain things. And yes, but this is what our film deals with.
Can we talk about the casting, because this is the first time I've seen is it Alma, the lead?
Yes.
And she was just absolutely brilliant and like mesmerizing to just watch her through the film, and I just thought she was amazing. How did the casting process work? Are a lot of people come in and read, or did you had an idea that she might be the one? Or
yes, I had her name on my mind already when I said yes to this project, because I thought she was a great actress, but she has a long history in theater, so she hasn't really acted in films before. So we had a massive casting process, and I've apologized to her because I know it was a bit painful because it took a long time. And this film was a co-production between Finland and Sweden, and of course there were so many different opinions. And since this is so much about Tove herself, we knew that we need to find the best possible actress to carry this whole film. And so we took our time, and as I said, Alma has forgiven me because she really took a risk, and she said no to many projects, not knowing if she would get this role. But I agree with you. I think she's absolutely amazing in this, and the jump from theater stages to and to extreme close-ups, she did it so well.
And what about the casting of her lover? How did that come about? Did you guys because they obviously come across so passionate on the screen. Did you guys do a lot of readings together before you casted Vivica?
Krista, I actually worked with her before over there.
That's awesome.
So and she's a wonderful actress as well, with a lot of experience on movies. And luckily Krista and Alma knew each other from theater, and they had yeah, they had worked with same like very demanding theater directors, and they already had this strong bond and a lot of respect towards each other, and that helped a lot also. So with Krista, who plays Vivica, we didn't have a long casting process because I knew her so well and I had worked with her previously. So it was easier for her. But yeah, but I loved the chemistry they could find. So we did, of course, test them together when we're searching for Tove. And I was so, yes, I always start loving all the actors who work for me, because I feel they both gave so much for this, and makes me grateful.
So I'd like to talk about production a little bit. You as a director, a female writer, a female DP, a female AC set designer, and also the lead, which I think is super special. And it's been great for me with a lot of the female features have been female directors, which I appreciate and love. And obviously I think they tell a story in a different way than if a man, for example, was directing this. Like, did you set out to kind of have the plethora of women behind the scenes?
Well, I love it that it turned out so, but it wasn't really like, I wasn't really thinking about it. I was so worried at the beginning of our production and pre-production about so many things that it somehow happened by accident almost. But our wonderful producer, Andrea Reuter, she had it on mind, and she was more focused on gathering a group of female film professionals. And for example, Krista here, I think she's done like 20 movies at least, and this was the first movie where she had a female DOP. And she said it was a different experience, and of course it's hard to explain, but there was again, the tone was different. And when we did, for example, our intimate scenes, I think a female DOP was a really, really good choice for this film. The gaze is different. We're looking, we're interested in other things maybe, and it's such a difficult subject to talk, especially in English. but anyway,
I totally know. Yeah, I totally know what you're saying.
Yeah.
And don't you think it kind of exemplifies who Tove was as a person to have all these females in these roles during this movie about this amazing feminist?
Yes. And the thing is that, okay, now I've been talking about how personal this story became for me, but I think having all of these like 30, 40, 50-year-old women on the set, we all related to so many things, and of course we are artists also and filmmakers. So I think everybody really took this story to their heart and also gave a lot to this. We had an amazing group of people making this film, and I really hope it will happen again with these people, because I hadn't worked with this DOP before or the production designer, and they are wonderful people. And it was the moment the filming really started. I was so worried during the whole pre-production, and it felt overwhelming and all these different struggles we went through. But the moment the filming started, I enjoyed it, and that continued till the very end, because it is teamwork, and we had a wonderful team in this.
So, I mean, I think obviously you just said you hadn't worked with the DOP before, and having a female director and her behind the camera, do you think, like, did you usually work with men before her, or?
Yes, well, I've worked with a female DOP in my 2 first feature films, and then I made 2 other with the male DOPs. And the thing is that it's really important to, if you have a choice, if you have a very if you have a good female DOP and a good male DOP, it's really important to choose the female one, just because they are not given the same chances still. So it's very important to still recognize. So it was really lovely to have Linda on board, for Linda Wassberg on board. But yeah, I've worked both with the male and female DOPs.
And you shot in 16 millimeter, which some of my favorite films have been shot. Was that always your thought of how you were going to film it?
Well, that was my wish from the very beginning, because I thought that I would like to have that certain kind of poetry and rawness also that I imagined would happen if we could use 16 millimeter film. And then I don't know how many filmmakers you have in the audience, but then we had the usual conversation with the producers who said, no,
Yeah.
it's too difficult.
Yeah.
No, but then we made some tests and demos, and we shot the other demo on 16 millimeter and the other one on on digital, Arri Alexa. And the thing is that it does look so different. You can do so many things, of course, with digital material, and you can add a lot of grain if you want, but there is still something so special and a bit magical with 16 millimeter. And with those demos, we were able to convince our producers, and they agreed that we should use that.
That's awesome. I specifically like a lot of the party scenes with the lighting and like kind of the dim and with the yellow, and then you have some reds. I really liked a lot of the look throughout.
Thank you. Yeah. I wanted to have those warm nights and a lot of color, and this film needed to have that colorful, warm look.
And what was production like? Like, how long did it take, and where did you film all of it in Finland, or where else did you film?
Well, we were so lucky because, of course, 2020 was a strange year, to say the least. But we filmed this in January and February, and we were supposed to travel to Paris for a couple of days in May to have another kind of a look for the film. And yes, I was really dreaming of Paris in the springtime and all the light green colors and the sun. But of course, that didn't happen. And in the end of March or in the beginning of April, it was clear that we're not traveling anywhere outside of Finland. And we were really unsure if we could even finish the shoot. So we had to make a decision fast. And we created our Paris into Turku, which is a city in Finland, which has a river flowing through it. So we needed a little bit of VFX, but I actually found it very beautiful in the end. It's very different from what I imagined in the first place. And it's not light green or sunny. It's very, dark but it's atmospheric in another kind of way. So I'm just really glad that we were able to finish the shoot.
And you filmed this in about 2 months? Is that? That's awesome.
I think we had 28 shooting days. 28 and some extra shots some other days, but not too many shooting days. So it was intense.
I'd say the least. To get all that done in 28 days. It's because you have a women crew. That's why you get shit done. So from you being approached with this film to now being able to watch it and have a final product, where does it lie from what you thought it would be to where it ended up?
Well, I started to love the film because of the people and because of certain moments we were able to capture. So at this moment, I've watched it so many times that I really, to tell you the truth, I don't even know what the film is like anymore, because I was so intensely making it that now it's really interesting to have these talks, because it's almost like I'm trying to, push it a bit further from me and, have some distance, and maybe I can watch it again in, I don't know, 10 years and then know how it, turned out. But I know that this was such a wonderful process that only because of that I love the experience, and I'm really proud of, for example, the work of Alma Pöysti and our DOP and production designer and all those people. But it's different. It's very different, and it always is. But in this case, it turned out for the better, I think.
And to your set designer, when I was watching one of the Q&As, she said even stuff of like writing in a certain kind of pen you have to like think about, and she obviously had to be so detail oriented. Like, how was the communication between the two of you of like what you wanted and her aesthetic?
I'm such a fan of hers also. I sound ridiculous because all these people are so wonderful, but she joked that she's the bad cop, because she was really critical and she was really like every little detail had to be spot on, and I respect her so much for that, because I felt that I'm really safe as a director when somebody like her is watching over everything. And the colors and the textures, the materials, like every detail. I was always so happy to step inside the set in the morning. But yeah, we worked hard, and she did a massive research, and we planned to have our colors in the film based on Tove's actual paintings. So we took our inspiration from there, and she created the whole studio, Tove studio, in the film studio. So that was an amazing thing also, I think, and she really created it like the original was, and it's unbelievable that she was able to do that, because we spent so many minutes in that studio in our film. There are so many important
So was there
scenes.
pictures of what the studio had looked like?
Yes, there were pictures of the studio, and we were also able to visit the studio. It has changed during the years. It's not anymore the same as it was in the 40s, but we were still able to visit the place together. So, but she did the research, she found the important photographs, and based on them, she built the whole place. But yes, yeah, she really was the bad cop. I was more willing to do compromises, and hey, come on, we can use that pen, for example.
Like,
no
nope.
way. No way.
And what about the music? Because music did play a part in a lot of the scenes. Did you handpick a lot of the music, and how did that work?
Yes, I handpicked with our composer Matti Bue. We talked a lot before the filming started, and we had all those like key songs in place, most of them. And I wanted to use the kind of music that Tove really listened to at the time, and there was a lot of jazz, and Benny Goodman and Glenn Miller and Edith Piaf also was one of her favorites. So it was lovely to use those. And then we combined it with Matti Bue's very beautiful and minimalistic score music. And also Matti Bue has a band called Mambo Noir, and we use their songs a lot also. So, I think the combination works beautiful. There is the energy, and then there is the, intimate melancholy also.
Have you been able to watch this in a theater with people at all, at least in Finland?
Yeah, only at the premiere. Our premiere was in October, in the beginning of October, and there we had the window of 2 months that everything was somewhat normal.
Yeah.
So we were so lucky that at least our film had a run in cinemas, and we were able to have a lovely premiere party. So, but that's the only time I've watched it with the audience. It's really strange.
I bet. So can people watch it there, like online, or yeah?
Yes, now they can. Now they can watch it online. I think, but they've only been able to do it for, I don't know, 3 days. It's very
Oh, really?
very fresh. But it was in the cinemas those 2 months.
So it became one of the highest grossing in those 2 months period.
Yes.
That must feel like so amazing.
Yes, it does. It really does. So even though the year was horrible in so many ways, I have to say that we were lucky. And I don't know what really affected in those big numbers. We got lovely amount of admissions. Maybe also because we didn't get the new James Bond, coming and taking over all the cinemas. So really it was like Tove's playground for some time.
That's awesome. For someone who's kind of just being introduced to you as a director, do you have other films that people can watch, in the US that interested to see some of your other films?
Yes, I think this film behind me, for example, this Miami, should be on some platforms, on Amazon, for example. Cool. Yes, and but I think those films you can't really find yet. Oh yes, and Maria's Paradise is also a film that should be found on different platforms. So Miami and Maria's Paradise are films that should be found.
Cool. And do you have anything else coming up in the future that we can look forward to?
Well, I don't know yet. I have some plans and there are some projects on the table, but I really don't know what will happen to them yet. So
stay tuned.
Yes, exactly.
Well, I really appreciate you coming and chatting with me. It's been amazing to listen to you talk about this film. It's been amazing to watch multiple times on my end. You should be super proud, and maybe in 10 years when you can take a step back and watch it objectively, you'll realize the amazing work that you did. Does she have any sort of family? I know she didn't have kids, but any sort of family still alive that saw the film and appreciated it?
Yes, we were happy to get Tove's niece's, Sofia Jansson's comments on the film, and she helped us already with the script when we needed to fact check something, and yes, and she gave us some lovely comments that she really appreciated it. So that was a great relief also.
Oh, that's awesome. Well, you can watch the film through April 18th. Thank you so much for coming out. This was such a lovely chat on this morning for me.
It was super great. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you.